I'm just an ordinary CEO in City A. But being ordinary doesn't mean I'm an idiot. Watching the surveillance footage, I saw the nanny switch her own child with my wife's child. My face was full of question marks. The world must be crazy, but it doesn't matter. I will take action. Chapter 1. In front of the monitor, I frowned and pointed at the progress bar on the screen, right here. 5 minutes ago. Technician. Zoom the camera onto Maria's face. Didn't she just give birth? What is she doing in the nursery? Private hospitals charge for everything, but that's one good thing about them. The surveillance is plentiful and long-lasting. The footage had not only images but also sound, and it was crystal clear. The technician turned the volume to maximum, and we could clearly hear Maria's tearful voice. Baby, one day you'll thank mommy for securing you a bright future. Why should my child be born to live as a servant's kid? Heh. Looking at the paternity test result in my hand, I sneered. So Maria didn't know that in a private hospital, after a baby is born, there's also a paternity test. Not only had I arranged a paternity test to make sure the baby was definitely mine and my wife's, I had also decided to monitor the baby's situation every minute. I personally walked into the nursery, switched the 2 babies back, and took my daughter home. From that moment on, Maria treated my daughter even better than her own. In the years that followed, I kept Maria close so I could clearly see how she mistreated her own daughter, but I didn't stop her. If I hadn't been cautious, the one being abused would have been my daughter. Damn, if it were you, wouldn't you be pissed? Sometimes my wife couldn't bear it and would intervene. Maria, stop hitting her. That's when Maria would get even angrier. After hitting her child even harder, she would come to us and announce she was pulling her daughter out of the local elementary school to go back to the countryside. I knew she was probably afraid her child would grow up and not resemble her parents. Exposing her scheme, I agreed to her resignation. Let that woman go back to her hometown and abuse her own kid there. My wife looked at me, puzzled. I can't shake the feeling there's something between you and her. Did you secretly have an affair with Maria? Why does she always look at you like she has something to say? I reassured my wife, it's not like that. Then I told her about the baby switching incident, and she finally understood. There was something like this. My wife immediately declared, serves them right, let her suffer. Chapter 2. After my daughter started kindergarten, her homeroom teacher began contacting me obsessively. Every photo my wife posted on her WeChat moments, the teacher would repost to her own moments. When she found out how wealthy I was, she even started sending me calculated, soft-spoken, flirty messages. Because my wife has her own company, she's busy at work, we're a dual CEO household. The teacher would often tattle to me, saying things like, your daughter's hair wasn't tied properly today. For the spring outing, you didn't prepare food, isn't mommy being careless? At a parent-teacher meeting, she even claimed that all of my wife's WeChat photos were stolen from her own moments. Then she posted on her moments, declaring that my wife should kneel down and apologize to her, and even said that I was actually her husband. My wife was instantly furious and ready to fight her on the spot. My wife is fierce, her family is just as wealthy as mine. Otherwise, how would we have ended up together? It's not like she's never been to the police station, she really would throw punches. I stopped her, reminding her that hitting someone could get her arrested. As a mother, she should choose a way to destroy someone emotionally instead. I suggested she post more flashy, luxury showcasing videos, and this time make sure to capture both her face and mine. The teacher went crazy with rage and accused her of making AI-generated videos. This time, the other parents weren't so gullible. I also added them as contacts and started posting daily photos of me, my wife, and our daughter as a happy family. The teacher completely lost face for a while and didn't bother us. But the peace didn't last long. The homeroom teacher became more unhinged, occasionally sending me revealing photos and using increasingly brazen language. My wife was so furious she couldn't help but add the teacher on WeChat to curse her out directly. The homeroom teacher said in a sly tone, the one who isn't loved is the real third wheel. Then she doubled her efforts to treat my daughter extra well. But my daughter is smart. Whenever the teacher got close, she would cry and scream relentlessly. Soon, the teacher's relatives came to us, saying that my wife had only given me a daughter because she couldn't produce a son. And since we hadn't had more children all these years, she should step aside and make room for someone else. I gathered all the evidence and sent it to the Education Bureau. The teacher was promptly fired, and the PDF file containing all her revealing photos went viral on Douyin. Her entire extended family ended up on trending searches, and my daughter's kindergarten life came to a smooth end. Chapter 3. After my daughter entered elementary school, I thought life would finally be peaceful. But during a corporate charity visit to an orphanage, a tax deduction move, one orphan saw me and quietly called out through tears, "Dad. Damn it, you can't guard against everything." My daughter was instantly overwhelmed with pity for her. She turned to me with pleading eyes. "Dad, can you adopt her, please?" Of course, I didn't want to. My daughter is wonderful in every way, except she's too kind for her own good. I decided to let this little girl come into our home to teach my daughter a lesson. Not everyone who looks pitiful is truly deserving of pity. So I agreed. My daughter's taste in picking people was unfortunate. She chose one who was manipulative to the core. At first, when we brought her home, my wife didn't think much of it. She treated both girls equally, but every so often, this girl would run to my wife crying, saying my daughter bullied her. At night, she'd sneak into our bedroom, silently cling to my wife, and refuse to answer questions, only saying her sister was mean to her, that she was bullied, and that she had no parents and envied her sister, but her sister still treated her badly. My daughter knew nothing about these accusations. At first, my wife thought our daughter might actually have done something wrong and was ready to discipline her, until I stopped her. Later, I took my wife to watch the surveillance footage, and she finally realized just how conniving the girl really was. My wife got angry immediately and wanted to kick her out. I stopped her. If she leaves this soon, how will our daughter learn the lesson? You're right, my wife said, calming down instantly. We didn't fall for the girl's fake sob stories, but the nanny did. The nanny started treating her badly and would even whisper to my daughter, "If you weren't the master and madam's biological child, I'd think you were picked up from a garbage dump, no elegance at all. And you can't even tolerate the second miss when she's just a poor orphan." My daughter was furious and confronted the adopted girl. "Why are you lying to everyone like this?" She had never bullied her. The girl's eyes reddened as she said, "Sister, I never said that. Maybe you misunderstood." People's attitudes toward my daughter got worse and worse until the matter blew up and came before me and my wife. I smiled. Did she not know? Our house has surveillance cameras everywhere. I looked at the footage, then at my daughter, and asked, "So what are your thoughts now?" My daughter was already doubting life and stayed silent. She had been the one who begged and cried to bring the girl home. Now she finally understood. "Dad, I was wrong. I'll never do this again." I quickly fired the nanny, removed her from our company's social insurance, and hired a new employee from a licensed domestic service company. I had never even filed official adoption papers. As for the orphan's future, I could only give her some money as tuition for the life lesson she gave my daughter. Once my daughter understood, I swiftly sent the girl overseas, never to meet again in this lifetime. Chapter 4. When my daughter entered junior high, her grades were excellent. She ranked first in the entire city, so she didn't go to a private elite school. Those elite schools were mostly for kids who didn't do well academically. With my daughter's grades, sending her there would just waste money and harm her learning. But I didn't expect that simply because she didn't attend the elite academy, a group of people online would start smearing and slandering her. My daughter likes to post her shopping hauls online. Many people assumed she was a rich young lady and believed she'd definitely attend the elite academy. When she didn't, they started cyberbullying her, accusing her of pretending to be rich to trick people, that she was a fake socialite. They flooded the comments under her videos with rumors. My daughter was furious, ready to argue with every single one of them. The brilliant heiress was accused of cheating on every exam and labeled a copycat legend. I took one look at those defamatory posts and knew every word was absolute nonsense. Why? Because I care deeply about my daughter's education. My wife and I even take the same online courses with her. We study as a family. I didn't do well in school myself. It was the wave of my era that allowed me to build a company. Our business is modest, just over 1,000 employees. A small factory, about 1,000 mu of land. I live a comfortable but unpretentious life. That's why I'm so invested in my daughter's studies. There's no way she cheated. When she's solving problems, we use the Feynman learning method. My wife and I deliberately pretend to be clueless so she has to explain everything to us every day. By now, her knowledge level is on par with a junior high teacher. And you tell me she cheated? You might as well claim my wife and I took the exam for her. My wife was also furious. The internet was flooded with claims that our daughter plagiarized her work. I asked my daughter, "Do you know who's doing this to you?" She was livid. That so-called little white flower in my class. Her family is dirt poor. She's often hungry, and I offered to help her. She thought I was looking down on her, so she got the whole class to isolate me. My daughter had never mentioned any of this before. My wife and I were in the dark. "Why didn't you say so earlier? I could have helped you transfer schools." She hadn't expected it to blow up. I wanted to focus on grades. Our teacher treats me well and protects me. But the little white flower, if you're hungry all the time, how can you study well? I even told her you need to eat and sleep well to keep your brain sharp. She keeps working odd jobs, never focusing on studying, and then claims I only get good grades because I cheat. Listening to my daughter's calm, logical rebuttal, I suddenly felt she'd grown up. "Remember that girl you insisted on adopting before? I think you've met another one just like her." Throughout her childhood, people constantly appeared around my daughter, always trying to take advantage of or bully her. Even when we took her for walks, there were parents who would deliberately have their daughters bump into her, trying to scratch her face. Eventually, I moved us into a standalone villa, so walking in our own neighborhood wouldn't cause trouble. My daughter had never been aware of these things, but this time she truly felt the malice of strangers online. She asked sadly, "Do you think I should respond to them?" "Up to you." That night, she stayed up, reading all the nasty comments, taking note of anything that could be used as constructive feedback. It was like she matured overnight. After that, she never posted her luxury items online again. Instead, she came to me with a proposal for funding to start her own small business. Over the summer, she spent her days trading grain, delivering takeout at noon, and in the evenings previewing high school material to teach me and my wife. Not only did she grow to 1.7 meters tall, but she also finished learning all 3 years of high school coursework. I made sure her tutors were top-notch. Her one-on-one online lessons never stopped. Chapter 5. When my daughter entered high school, the atmosphere at her top-ranked school was excellent. She had been admitted with the highest score in the city. Still, because of lingering rumors, many believed her reputation was hollow and were waiting to catch her cheating in action. She quickly proved them wrong. At the very first mock exam, not only did she rank first in the entire school, but she scored almost 20 points higher than the second-place student, breaking the school's entrance exam record. Immediately, the rumor spread that she must have bought the answers. After all, we were supposedly rich enough to do anything. My daughter didn't even get angry. She simply came home and spent the whole night working on problems. Her current way of relieving stress was to grab her phone and go deliver food on a shared bike. No one knew who she was, and each completed order gave her a sense of accomplishment. I had no objection. In fact, I thought it was great. It kept her active, earned her some pocket money, and made her happy. My wife, however, felt bad for her and wanted to talk to the homeroom teacher. I told her not to. For a student, the best way to shut people up is by getting great results. Explanations are useless. Sure enough, in the second exam, my daughter again ranked first, widening the gap to second place by another 20 points. This time, no one dared accuse her of cheating. After all, she had scored 140 in Chinese alone. Who could possibly copy their way to that? Most students in a top school are focused on learning. They're not fools. Seeing how good her grades were, more people were willing to befriend her. In this environment, my daughter's mindset improved a lot. Anyone who had bullied her before, she simply avoided. Those who had never badmouthed her, she would gladly befriend. She often told us, "Unite all forces that can be united." Honestly, my wife and I felt she was better than us. We could never do that. If someone bullied me, I'd give them the cold shoulder on the spot. But my daughter could face all that pressure and still greet everyone with a warm smile. If anyone crossed her bottom line, though, she would not hold back. One of the things I admire most is that she is more mature and wise than the two of us combined. She put in an enormous amount of effort before every exam. Life in a top high school didn't have much drama, but one day she came home and mentioned something about her food deliveries that immediately set off alarms for me. She'd found a shop that sold really great breakfast food, and she was planning to bring it for the whole school. I quickly stopped her. Food safety is a red line. If something's wrong with the food and people get sick, they'll blame you. What will you do then? My daughter instantly dropped the idea. Not long after, a girl in her class offered to bring breakfast for everyone. Soon, people started complaining that the food was cold, the buns were wrong, or that there was something wrong with them, that they got diarrhea after eating. After the chaos, everyone just went back to eating at the school canteen. When my daughter heard, she was grateful she'd listened to me. Later, she told me that someone in her class had given her a carton of milk out of nowhere. I took it straight from her and gave it to the family dog. No way was she drinking that. Anything randomly given to you at school, just hand it over to the dog, I told her. A few days later, my daughter said that a classmate had dropped out due to illness, and then mentioned that this classmate had suddenly been found eating bones off the ground. That made both my wife and me shiver. Another classmate even followed my daughter home, wanting to eat a meal with a golden spoon at our place. I sent him away at once, saying, "We have nothing to eat here." This was like something out of a TV drama, as if eating one meal with a golden spoon could swap lives with my daughter. And then, the neighbor's son became their daughter. It seemed like no one but the three of us noticed. My daughter also began to realize that there might be different kinds of things in this world. Chapter 6. In her final year of high school, there was a special admission program at Peking University. If my daughter participated, her required score for admission would be lowered. There was also a national mathematics competition. She entered and won a first prize at the national level. I didn't fully understand what that meant, but I was told that with a first prize, she could be admitted to the mathematics department at Peking University without even taking the college entrance exam. Still, my daughter thought she might as well take the exam anyway. At the same time, she had someone help her apply to Ivy League universities abroad, just as a backup plan. Over the years, my wife and I had gradually learned about short story incidents, real-life cases that felt straight out of online fiction. We realized that a lot of those storylines had actually happened to our daughter. So we did everything we could to give her multiple paths into Peking University. Otherwise, her college entrance exam results might get switched. My daughter didn't believe us at first. She thought we were just being paranoid. But on exam day, she finally saw we weren't crazy. The exam went extremely well for her. When the scores came out, however, her results had been switched to someone else's, showing 751 points. Her usual score was around 710, so she must have performed exceptionally well that day, adding about 30 points to her record-breaking result. Instead, she was left with a little over 200 points. She was devastated, but thankfully, she had that national math competition first prize. Her college entrance exam score became a public joke. People dredged up her past, claiming she had cheated her way into her elite high school in the first place. Photos of her delivering food were posted online, along with footage of her studying in school and screenshots of every test score she'd ever gotten. The comment sections filled with pure malice. Wow, this copycat queen never stops, copying today, copying tomorrow, copying every damn day. She's unbelievable. Exactly. Always had her phone on her during exams, but not for the college entrance exam. That's why she tanked. God. How can someone be so shameless, cheating her way to high scores without worrying about getting exposed? Some even photoshopped ugly pictures of her, claiming that she'd had plastic surgery because we were rich, and that the times she was absent from school were actually for cosmetic procedures. I was furious, but my daughter didn't seem angry at all. Her Douyin account suddenly flooded with comments. Her account had just been for fun, showing her food delivery runs. People had thought it was entertaining, but now they latched onto the narrative that she'd only scored 200 on the college entrance exam. Wow, the persona she built is insane. This pretentious faker, delivering food like she's so humble. But I won't even mention what she really does for fun. My daughter calmly waited for public opinion to reach its peak. Her story even made it into the news, almost to the point of being broadcast on CCTV. Then, she decisively posted her college entrance exam score from last year. It's important to know that last year's exam was even more difficult. She had actually taken the college entrance exam once already, back in her second year of high school, and scored a raw 719 points. Last year, she had qualified for the youth class program, but since it only allowed her to attend a specific university, she chose not to go. She posted her score report from last year with the caption, "Since you're all so good at digging up people's information, why don't you look at last year's score instead of just this year's?" Then she posted a photo of her national first prize in the math competition. Has it ever occurred to you that maybe I just took the exam for fun this year? That explanation clicked with everyone. It made perfect sense. A math competition winner might just sit the exam casually, answer a few questions, and end up with a couple hundred points. Not strange at all. Maybe she just went to have fun. And besides, last year's score couldn't possibly be faked. Now the internet was even more fired up. My daughter didn't realize the wave of traffic this would bring. The video showing her 200-point score got over 5 million likes. An estimated 100 million people had seen it. From this surge, she quickly gained 500,000 followers. But the comments under that video included more than 1 million insults. Even I hadn't expected my daughter to draw so much traffic, or to face such an overwhelming torrent of malice. I thought for a moment and said, "Why don't we go to the Peking University admissions office and have them explain for you?" "It's useless," my daughter replied. "Even if they stop talking about my low score, they'll just say there was something shady about the math competition. No matter what I achieve, they'll claim it's because of my family's money, not because of my own effort. They'll believe everything just falls into my lap." Soon, representatives from the Peking University admissions office came to our home. Seeing her calm demeanor, they were actually impressed. "Don't worry," they told her. "We can issue an official statement explaining that you were admitted through legitimate channels, and that your scores are authentic and valid." But my daughter refused. No need. The only way to shut them up is to achieve something so real that it smacks them in the face. Chapter 7. That summer, my company had already gone bankrupt. Fortunately, I'd been smart enough to buy up all the land around the factory earlier. So now we were landlords, me and my wife as the big landlords, and my daughter as our little landlord. I took my wife and daughter to the capital. In the capital, my daughter quickly joined a research lab, and before long, we hardly saw her anymore. We'd still catch glimpses of her during weekend dinners, so we weren't worried. My wife and I had devoted our entire lives to raising our daughter, and seeing her living so well now, I felt every bit of it had been worth it. Her top score in the college entrance exam quickly reached Maria's ears. Maria traveled thousands of miles to the capital with her own daughter, originally intending to go to my hometown to find me, but failing. When she reached the gates of Peking University, I saw with my own eyes Maria drop to her knees and say, "Daughter, I shouldn't have switched you back then." Once again, my daughter landed on Douyin's trending list. I couldn't believe Maria still hadn't noticed that the skinny, Dark-skinned girl beside her looked exactly like her. So this cheater is actually a fake heiress? Hurry up and get a DNA test. Look at their real daughter, skinny as a twig, not an ounce of care. This family is unbelievable. Is this going to be another one of those "you lost wealth, but I lost family" stories? I quickly dug out the paternity test results from back then. The ones showing my daughter was indeed my wife's and mine. I'd been careful at the time, printed copies, photos, even a web link stored. I hurried to give them to my daughter so she could post them on her account. The twist stunned everyone again. Maria's daughter's pitiful eyes might move some, but I cared far more about my own child, especially knowing that if I hadn't caught it in time, Maria had actually been hitting my daughter back then. My daughter's follower count kept climbing, but sometimes she felt it was more of a burden. After posting the paternity test, she deactivated her account and arranged to live on campus. Soon, a new military research project was assigned to her, meaning she probably wouldn't be interacting with outsiders anymore. It seemed my daughter was finally completely safe. Under the protection of the state, my wife and I were overjoyed. Since we already had money, we decided to spend the 4 years of her undergraduate study traveling all over China, even visiting several other countries. When we finally met again after she finished, she had become a graceful young scientist. Seeing her in a white lab coat was exactly how I'd imagined it. I was thrilled. She had grown taller, now about 175 meters, and carried herself with the sharpness of a dagger, an aura of intelligence and precision. She didn't wear glasses. The frames on her face were purely for show, I was sure. My wife hugged her excitedly. "Daughter, I sent you so many postcards along the way. Did you get them?" "I got them. Don't worry, Mom. I'm doing great at school, and I'm learning a lot, but I still have a few more years of study ahead. The institute recommends I go all the way to a postdoc. So that's 4 more years. Since I didn't apply for the combined bachelor-master doctorate track, it'll take a bit before I can really repay you." I waved my hand. "No, my good girl. You've already gotten into Peking University, and you're still thinking about repaying us. There's no need. You already belong to the country now. You know the factory rent is high. We get over 200,000 yuan a month. We can't even spend it all. Your mom and I are both retired, and her own factory has been transferred out. We know you can't inherit our business, and we don't expect you to. Just be a happy landlord. Focus on your research, and make contributions to the country." My daughter smiled. "Thank you, Mom and Dad. Without you, I wouldn't be nearly this happy." Chapter 8. Right after graduating from university, my daughter was accepted again by Peking University, this time into a combined master's and doctoral program. Online gossip had died down. Most reasonable people now recognized her as a true talent. Then, a new wave of speculation began. Everyone wanted to know who my daughter's partner was. Not long after my wife and I arrived in the capital, a woman claiming to be my wife's best friend from ages ago came to find us. "I'm your best friend, don't you remember?" My wife stared at her blankly. She had absolutely no recollection of this woman. Beside her stood her son, Makoto, who looked at us impatiently. "Since we had a childhood engagement, let her marry into my Ito family. I, Makoto, will take responsibility for her." My wife and I exchanged a look. "Are you insane? Who said you were her best friend?" My wife guessed this was yet another case of our daughter's unusual magnetism at work. Now that she was of marrying age, hordes of people were sticking to her like glue. Good heavens. In a letter to us, our daughter wrote that on the streets, elderly people would accidentally fall in front of her after she helped them. Their grandson or youngest son would appear, and each one just happened to be the CEO of some big company. Or she'd arrive somewhere and someone would get injured, and that person would turn out to be a high-ranking executive at some major firm. There was even a steady supply of ridiculously handsome strangers lying in wait for her to pick up. The most over-the-top case, a pair of twins was standing outside her lab one day, apparently just waiting for her. By now, her heart was harder than steel. That said, it's not like she had no feelings for anyone. She got together with a boy she knew from high school, a boy who had scored his way into Peking University on raw talent. Both my wife and I were supportive. My wife found the boy more and more likable. Me, the more I looked, the less I liked him, but I knew this was the best choice for my daughter, and we had to respect her decision. He and my daughter chose the same major and entered the same research institute. They had always been in a senior-junior relationship at work and kept working together. Before 2 years had passed, when my daughter had just reached the legal marriage age of 24, he took her to register their marriage. She never told us beforehand, though of course we wouldn't have stopped her. Maybe it was because of the marriage, but all the strange, chaotic events stopped happening around her. My wife's eyes turned red with tears as she looked at our daughter, who had acted first and informed us later. "I don't understand. You could have told us. We wouldn't have stood in your way." My daughter admitted she had been afraid we wouldn't approve because the boy's family was poor. Chapter 9. Suddenly, I remembered the story from when my daughter had felt sorry for that orphan. Maybe she had been deceived again. I looked at her and asked, "Do you remember that girl from when you were little? The one who came to live with us?" Her face instantly turned pale. "Think about it. Has this boy really been with you, studying by your side, all these years?" I had barely finished speaking when my daughter seemed to recall how, back in high school, she had constantly been the target of rumors. When would she have had a boy constantly by her side? And after joining the lab, every project had been entirely her own work, yet, in the end, 2 names appeared on the papers. Because his name came first alphabetically, he was listed as the first author. My daughter suddenly realized something was wrong. She looked at me and said, "Dad, what if I've been tricked? But I've already registered my marriage. It's fine, we'll go to the state." That time she'd supposedly scored 751 on the college entrance exam. The official explanation was a statistical error, but in truth, we had gone to the state for help. This was how she'd been placed into a top-secret national research lab. Plenty of people had wanted to dissect her, but the state refused, shielding her and arranging both her work and her studies. After we reported the situation, the authorities investigated. They found that this boy had, quite literally, appeared out of thin air. Everyone around seemed to remember him, but there was no trace of his real-life existence. When they went to his home, they found nothing. It was completely empty, as if the person had never existed at all. My daughter broke down crying. From that moment, I realized she still needed a partner who genuinely loved her. I encouraged her, "Why not try again? Maybe there's someone around you you've never noticed, someone who's been quietly admiring you all along." She didn't answer. I guessed she was deeply hurt. Someone who appears from thin air is not real companionship. She seemed to realize it too. "Dad, am I so lonely that someone like that had to appear? Sometimes I wonder if I'm dreaming. Why would the heavens treat me this way?" I looked at her with a heavy heart. "I don't know, but your mom and I will always be with you. We'll support you forever." "Dad. Mom. I'm worried that even you aren't real." When she said that, something struck me. She might be right. Maybe my daughter is the only real living person in this world, and the entire world exists only to revolve around her. Chapter 10. Host detected to be awakened. "Do you wish to exit this world?" My daughter looked at me with unstoppable tears. "Dad, so you were already dead, just living in a copy that I had configured myself." Willow removed her virtual reality glasses, and the boundary between the virtual and the real became clear again. The 22nd century is an era completely dominated by technology. Willow was born in the poorest suburbs, yet possessed extraordinary talent and business instinct. She went from having absolutely nothing to having everything, thanks not only to luck, but to 120,000% effort. The people in this world lived in emptiness. The upper class monopolized 99% of the resources, yet found no spiritual meaning. Taking advantage of this, Willow developed virtual reality glasses that earned her an immense fortune. Her invention allowed people to live, in a virtual world, different lives in which they themselves were the protagonist. "The meaning of technology doesn't end there," she said, stroking the holographic projection of the laboratory. "It's not just about finding happiness in a virtual world, but also about making the real version of oneself better." In the corner of the table, a yellowed paper photograph was protected by a frame, the last image of her parents while alive. When her fingers brushed the frame, the holographic projection automatically triggered childhood memories. A little girl in patched clothes, lifted in her parents' arms. What my daughter didn't know was that my digital consciousness had also arrived in the real world along with the system. Although my body had long since disappeared, seeing all that she had achieved allowed me to finally dissolve in peace. "And even if I am not your true father, my daughter, we have always loved you.